Several years ago, we felt ready to keep poultry. Like most people, the first thing that came to mind was chickens. So we began our due diligence, reading about them, learning about the different breeds, and talking to people near us who keep backyard flocks. We quickly realized the first thing we needed to do was decide what we wanted them for.
Welcome to the Big Big Farm, where traditional farming and tropical farming meet, right here in the last frontier. If you want to follow along and see how far we can take this dream in Alaska, go ahead and subscribe. And thank you for being part of the journey.
As far as I can tell, there are two major reasons people keep poultry, and a handful of secondary reasons. The two major ones are meat and eggs. Secondary reasons to keep poultry include pest control, down, especially if you keep geese, and they can make good alarm animals depending on the species and breed. So far, chickens still seemed like the way to go. Really excellent meat, obviously champion egg layers, and they're good little hunters, eating lots of insects. But one thing kept coming up: our climate. We want our animal care to be perfect. We don't want to let them suffer in any way. And we learned that in our climate, it is a bit more work to keep chickens healthy and happy than in most places. They have exposed parts of their skin, for example, that can get frostbite, and they don't do great with cold and wet. We live in Alaska. We mostly cycle between cold and frozen and cold and wet. So it's not a deal breaker, but something to keep in mind. And that was when we discovered ducks. In case you aren't aware, ducks really love water. A lot. And they're extremely cold adapted. Cold and wet is their jam. They love a good sunny day too, don't get me wrong, but we've been through multiple winters now, and their cold tolerance is astounding. We had a covered shed for them, with a few heat pads, deep clean bedding, and they would still plop right down in the snow instead, in the middle of a blizzard even. They happily trundle around, carving paths to waddle through as the snow just gets deeper. They play in it, and never a single problem with frostbite. One concern, however, was eggs. We really wanted to be able to get a lot of eggs. We didn't know at the time, but there are some breeds of duck that are competitive with even the very best chicken layers. As far as meat, ducks don't cook like chicken. They don't have the massive breast meat, for example. And a duck is basically all dark meat, which is my favorite anyway, so that's not a problem. Okay, so last year we raised a meat flock of ducks, and we still have a bunch in the freezer. They're really good. We like to slow cook them, things like in a crock pot and stuff, but there's lots of ways to prep them. We have a plucker, so we ran ours through the plucker. Obviously we remove the innards and all that. We keep the kidneys and the hearts and that kind of stuff, and then we vacuum seal them, and they keep really well this way, and we still have quite a few left. In fact, I'm going to take some tonight to get thawing out. We have other stuff in here too. We have rabbit and salmon and all sorts of good stuff, but yeah, we've got more duck back there. So that's how we keep them, and you can see we didn't raise them up to be big, giant. We wanted them still young and super tender, but that's a pretty good sized bird. If you can see the scale with my hand, it's quite a lot bigger than the quail. Not as big as like if you went, say you went to Costco and got a rotisserie chicken. That's probably, I would say, 20% bigger, if not maybe even a little more than these birds. Now you can raise them longer and get them a lot bigger, obviously. A big duck is a really good sized meal, but we wanted them super tender, and their feed conversion stays better if you harvest them fairly young. But yeah, those are our vacuum sealed ducks from our meat flock we raised last year. All of the breeds that we chose are really good layers, but the champions are the golden 300s. Let me see if I can show you. Hey guys. So that girl there and that one. Those are our golden 300s. Our Drake is a silver apple yard. That's a really large breed. We also have a female silver apple yard. But those golden 300s, they lay eggs almost every single day. They lay through the winter if you supplement their light a little bit. The Drake's mad at me. He thinks I'm doing something nefarious. But yeah, there is absolutely no real tangible difference in egg laying capacity between a good breed of duck and a good breed of chicken. The only real difference is the duck eggs are actually way bigger. They're a lot bigger. Excellent flavor, great for baking, great for eating, just plain as scrambled eggs or whatever, but they're a lot bigger than a chicken egg. So, if we get, say, 280 duck eggs from one of these over a season, it's going to be way more food than 280 chicken eggs if we had a chicken instead. So, as you can see, these guys are just as good of hunters, if not better, than the chickens would be. They're noodling, that's what they call that behavior. They just push their beak down through the top layer of dirt looking for bugs. They will comb through the berry patches. They'll eat any berries that have fallen. They'll also eat pests. One cool thing, we used to have a big shed right here, and we kept some of our animal feed in it. And we had the biggest problem with wild mice getting in and eating our feed. And they'd eat a lot of it. I felt like 15% of our feed was just getting taken by wild mice. And within a week of getting our ducks, we almost never saw a wild mouse ever again. So they will eat pests even up to small rodents. They are voracious hunters. They love animal-based foods. We don't go overboard with that, of course, but they're a true omnivore. They don't need a strictly plant-based diet. They actually thrive better if they do get some forage like this, some bugs and pests and things. In the summer and fall, when they have things like that to eat, the amount of feed, like their specific duck food that we buy for them, that they go through, is maybe half of what it is in the winter. Now, part of that's because in the winter they need to eat extra just to stay warm, but a lot of it is just they come out and they find a huge amount of their own food. And this isn't like some giant farm, this is just a backyard. But they will just hunt and graze all day long, and it certainly saves us on their food bill. One thing that has just been so nice about having the ducks, even though we literally got them for eggs, like that was one of our main purposes, I just did not realize how nice it was going to be to never have to buy eggs. Like, it is really awesome. And to know that these ducks are living a good life, they're able to get outside, they're able to exercise, they're able to hunt bugs, they're not being fed things we don't like, we know exactly what they eat. So these eggs are healthy, they are sourced in an ethical way, and they're just kind of always there. We can be like looking in the fridge and like, oh no, we don't have that. Just run outside, collect today's eggs, right? There are actually ways to preserve eggs using like lime water that we're going to try. I'm very interested to see if we could maybe overproduce eggs through the summer so that when I give them a break in the winter, we're not just out of eggs. But it has been just really awesome to, when they're at their peak. I mean, we have 5 hens right now, and we are getting 4 or 5 eggs a day. That's plenty for us. If we need more, we can add a few ducks to the flock. But as far as like the convenience goes, it is just really cool. We have a lot of goals for these ducks. We would love to get off of commercial feed completely. We buy from a local place. It's good feed. There's nothing wrong with it. One nice thing about poultry is that like grains and corn and things like that aren't bad for them. You know, when you feed that sort of stuff to a cow, their system is just not built for that. And you're not going to be getting the healthiest meat. You're not going to be having the happiest, healthiest cow. Birds, most of these poultry, they can totally eat seeds and like things like corn. Perfectly fine. It's just that I don't want so much of their calories to come from that, you know? So in the summer, I'm a lot happier when they're getting a ton of their food this way, just hunting all day long, grazing, eating leaves, eating grass, eating plants, eating seeds, eating bugs, eating mice, everything. I have watched them chase down mice and just gobble them down. It's like little velociraptors. So for us, you know, the ducks are just perfect. I'm not, if somebody prefers chickens for any reason, awesome. We also like chickens. In the future, we'll have chickens. But for our climate, where it's really cold and it's really wet a lot of the year, it's more hands-off for us to keep ducks as opposed to chickens. Now, I know some people are going to be like, but the mess though. Yes, absolutely. If your space doesn't work for it, ducks are going to make a worse mess than chickens. They like water. They need water. You can't just not give them access to water, and they can't just have like, you know, little nipples to drink from or little tiny things. They have to be able to get their head in there. They need enough width and depth in whatever their water source is to clear their nostrils. That's a requirement. They also need water in order to swallow most things, most types of the food that they eat. So they're gonna go through a huge amount of water. They're gonna splash that water, and they're gonna purposefully turn it into mud. That is a thing that ducks do. So one thing to keep in mind is like your space. This yard is plenty big for 6 ducks. They can't mess it up. There's not enough of them, and they're not destructive enough. So the grass stays nice and healthy. In fact, gets nicely fertilized. Even if they splash their water. Now, if I were to keep their water, because a lot of the summer we like that kiddie pool, most of the summer that's right side up, and we fill it with water every day. If you were to keep it in the same exact spot all season, you're gonna get a mud spot. But don't do that, right? So there's still some practical things. When I say hands off, I don't mean entirely. I just mean for us, it's more hands off than a chicken. But if our space was different, we probably would have done chickens instead and just dealt with, you know, making sure that we keep their, I'm blanking, their little gobble thing, and their feet from getting frostbite. They need a lot more shelter. If it's windy and rainy, if it's cold and rainy, if it's just rainy at all, your chickens want shelter. The ducks want to come out and party. They're just like, they're a true water creature. They love water, they need water. So all the things that our climate makes more difficult for chickens doesn't bother the ducks in the slightest. Not in the slightest. But yeah, so there's our little beautiful flock. I guess my only other thing is with the water, depending on how you do the water, you're going to need to change it a lot. I see people who say I got to change it every day. Some people say I change it twice a day. We have a system out when they were at the farm where it can go 2 or 3 days, and it worked really well. Because it was a big, deep basin, but they couldn't get in it. Not a basin, but the 5-gallon buckets. And we had like 7 of them lined up. So it was a lot of water, but they couldn't get inside of it. We had holes cut in the side. Maybe we'll show you some. I have some footage of it. We'll plug it in here. But that was making it so that we could get 2 or 3 days without the water getting too nasty, which is great. But that's the biggest task, taking care of ducks, making sure they have clean water. While we're here in this yard, every day, we change the water every day. It's not only keeping them out of it, because obviously if they're pooping in it, you got to change it like crazy. But even with our system where they can't get in it, so there's no poop in it, they will put their head in and they will clear their nostrils like crazy. So a lot of food gets in the water, which isn't as bad as the poop, but after more than 2 or 3 days, it would get gross. I'm not saying anyone's wrong who's like, oh, the ducks are just too messy, they're way high maintenance. I guess it just depends on what you consider high maintenance. This is something that we're perfectly happy to do. It's not difficult, it's not expensive, and it works great for us. If our situation with our space or our location, our climate were different, we'd probably make a different choice. But this works so well for us, and they are just so fun. I love the ducks. I just sit and watch them sometimes. They're so funny, and they're beautiful animals. There's so many different breeds. And we selected breeds for really good egg laying, personality. Our Drake is kind of mean to me, but that's a Drake. If you're not interested in ever raising fertile eggs and hatching them and getting meat, and if you're just looking for the eggs, you don't even need to get a Drake. Our journey with ducks hasn't been all smooth. We had a black Swedish, a beautiful breed of duck, who was part of our flock. She was killed and mostly eaten by ravens. That was actually one of the catalysts for our wanting to get them up to the farm, where they could live in their secure runs. We gave it a shot. For a short time, it went really well. Then, as you know, we had a really terrible thing happen when neighbor dogs broke in and killed our rabbits. We had to bring the ducks back into town. We couldn't risk leaving them out there to get killed. And ever since then, it's been a big effort to get the farm more secure. We had a big wait for electricity to arrive. Now we're scrambling a bit to have them moved back in before winter hits. We want them settled, and to make sure their big run we've got for them is winterized. We really want these ducks to be up on the farm. It's been a frustrating wait, but it will happen soon enough, and it'll be twice as sweet. One silver lining is when we first moved the ducks in, the ground hadn't had any time for growth. It was just bare dirt, and we transplanted some grass clods, and that was it. But when we had to move them out anyway, we figured, hey, why not seed it? So we did, and it took perfectly. Hopefully it's strong enough that when the ducks move back in, it won't just become a giant mud patch. We'll have to see.